Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wednesday Night Live with independent demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Sheridan, Oregon in the U.S. So glad you could join me tonight. Let's go ahead and see who's jumping on. Got some cute projects, I think, for you tonight. So we'll get started on those in a minute or two. When we see who we have, just let everybody get in here for a minute. Got a couple of housekeeping notes. And then we'll be making 2 cards tonight. So as you can see, we're going to be using the Kindest Gnomes, the Bewitching bundle, which includes the stamp set and the Witch Hat Builder Punch. And then we also have the new Warm Welcome bundle. This is currently offered through the end of September as part of the World Card Making Day virtual event that Stampin' Up! Will be putting on. It's a free event and open to everyone, and that will be on Saturday, October 1st. And it goes from 2 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time, I believe. Good. Hello and good evening, Jennifer. And this stamp set is a pre-release sneak peek from the January to June 2023 mini catalog. So it's going to be available for just a short time through the 1st of October, and then it will go back away. That's my understanding, until January of 2023. Okay. So if you're wanting this, then you'll want to get that before the end of the month. It will be featured in the World Card Making Day virtual event. All right. So I want to make you aware of today. You know, we have talked about all this September that every Thursday Stampin' Up! Was releasing September weekly deals. Well, on Wednesdays, if you look at the website under the September weekly deals, you will not only find the current week's deals that will be expiring at midnight Mountain Time, but you also will find the next week's deals. So right now is a good time to go and look, because you can get both last week's and this week's, which will help you save on your shipping when you combine all that together. So be sure and check that out. They've got copper foil sheets, gold shimmer ribbon, the matte black dots, pastel pearls, gilded leaving, evening evergreen, polished pink, and soft succulent ribbons, the loose flower flourishes, scallop treat bag boxes, Eden dies, just a lot of things. But you'll want to go check that out today, because you can get not only this current week's, which ends at midnight tonight, but you can get the start of next week's at the same time. So instead of 11 deals, there'll be 22 that you can take advantage of today. Thank you for sharing, Jennifer. You're always so awesome about that. I appreciate it. All right, so in addition to that, we're coming to the end of the Perfect Partners promotion, and that is the promotion where Stampin' Up! Added 6 new die sets to existing stamp sets that are in both the mini and the annual catalogs. And once September 30th hits, or while supplies last, those dies will be available. But once September 30th is here, or they sell out, they will no longer be available. So you want to make sure that you get those. I personally have the Birthday Piggy Bundle, the Yeti Party Bundle, and the Apple Harvest Bundles out of the 6 sets. Okay, so remember that's going on. And then I know I mentioned the World Card Making Day, but in addition to that, this Warm Welcome set There's the Cottage Wreaths bundle and the Cottage Rose bundle that Stampin' Up! Will be using during that virtual day event. And if you purchase any one of these bundles between now and October 1st, you will get a free pack of iridescent pearl basic jewels. Now you must add those to the cart in order to get those for free. But as long as you have one of these three bundles in there, the price will show 0 on that. So be sure to add those iridescent pearl basic jewels embellishments to your order. Okay, so that's all of the housekeeping notes that I have. Let's go ahead and get started on our first project. Okay, so we need, we're going to need the Kindest Gnomes in the Bewitching bundle for this card. I've got to refresh my screen because for some reason when I go live it just gets stuck there on the initial, and I always have to refresh. Okay, so we are going to start with, let me set those aside. We're going to need those. We're going to start with a basic black card base, and this is cut at 5.5 by 8.5 and scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we're going to go ahead and burnish that with our bone folder. Okay. Let's get all of our pieces out here so I don't forget what I'm using here. And then we've got a piece of basic white for stamping. I've got a piece of basic white that I've cut with the 3rd largest stitched rectangle. I didn't grab those and bring those over. And I've already stamped You're So Sweet and put a spider on there. And those come from, well, the spider comes from Bewitching, and the You're So Sweet actually comes from the Scary Cute stamp set because the Bewitching doesn't have any sentiments. So I took the Trick or Treat You're So Sweet and I masked that off, and I only took the You're So Sweet. So we've got that 3rd largest stitched rectangle, and this is for the inside of our card. And then we've got a piece of basic white, and this is cut at 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. Yep. And this is going to be for a focal image. And then we've got a piece of the gingham cottage in the orange and black gingham check, and this is 4 by 5 1/4. And we're just going to add that directly to our card front right here in just a minute. We also have a piece of the black and white gingham cottage, and all I did was take my blending brush and a little bit of Parakeet Party ink and ink that up. And this is actually for the inside of our card. We're going to put these two together here. Let's go ahead and do that. I did that ahead just to save some time. So we'll just put a little bit of adhesive on there. Stick these two pieces together. Just carries through our theme from the front to the inside. And then we'll add this to the inside of our card. And of course, you could use the back if you so choose, but I wanted to bring my elements from the front to the inside. So we'll just go ahead and put that on. Then while we're here, we'll put our gingham cottage piece on. Glue that down, and now we can set this aside. Okay, so we'll pull out our piece of basic white here, and we'll pull out our scrap. And we're going to do a little bit of stamping here. So I'm going to pull in my Stamparatus. Let me take that plate off. I'm going to put this plate on. I'm going to put this piece in my Stamparatus. I need to pull this out because this is a red rubber and I don't need that matte. Okay, so we're going to take this, pull my stamp set down here so that I have an even inking surface. And we're going to ink this up in Memento. Oh, and you probably can't see that. Let me scooch my card base out of the way here. Okay. And then we'll give this a nice even pressure. And I'm doing this in my Stamparatus because, as you can see, oftentimes with a solid ink, this Memento ink does not give you a solid image, and the Stamparatus allows you to go back and re-stamp until you have the solid image you are looking for. Okay, still having an issue with this. Let's put a little bit more pressure on the right side of the toes of this boot. There we go. Get that ink to actually settle in. I'm just not putting enough pressure there. Let me finish that up just by concentrating in that one little area because that's what I need to ink, and there we are. Okay, so now we have that. I'm just going to wipe that off real quick. And then we can set this aside for now. And we'll grab our Memento ink. And we'll put that away. Okay, so we've got that. Then we're going to need the witch's hat that has the web on it. And this isn't a solid image, so I wasn't worried about this one. So I'm just going to give this a good press, but I want to do this where I can easily put it into the punch. Okay, so we've got that. Now that's almost all of our stamping. I'm going to take this sentiment, and this sentiment, Happy Halloween, comes from this month's Paper Pumpkin. Just received this in the mail. Show you this. And this Paper Pumpkin, by the way, is currently in the online store if you missed it. Okay, so this is, it's going to make 18 treat boxes, but every Paper Pumpkin comes with an exclusive stamp set. And I wanted this to say Happy Halloween, and I didn't have a Happy Halloween stamp set, or a stamp set that said Happy Halloween, so I pulled it out of the Paper Pumpkin stamp set from this month. So that's where I got that. So we're going to take pumpkin pie, and we are actually going to cut a strip off of this paper that is 3/8 of an inch. So we're going to go to the quarter, and then between the half and the quarter, we're just going to slice off a 3/8 inch strip there. And then I'm going to take my ink, pumpkin pie. I'm going to set this right down in the middle of that strip, and because it's photopolymer, I can see what I'm stamping. And there is our greeting. Okay, now let's see. That is all of the stamping at this point until we get this inked up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab a piece of scratch paper. This is our small grid paper that I'm using. I love this stuff. I use this more often than I use any grid paper. And I'm just going to put this down on my pad. And I'm going to grab my orange blending brush and the pumpkin pie ink again. And I'm going to ink that up. Wipe off the first little level. And then I'm going to start in the center. And I'm going to work my way out. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure, just a little bit, because I want a nice smooth inking. And I think that's going to do it. Just want a little bit of a glow. Okay. So we've got that. Now we can go here and we're going to do a little bit of coloring. So let's get our images and let's get some Stampin' Blend colors. These are the colors that we're using tonight. We're going to be using the Blackberry Bliss, the Smoky Slate combo. Let me flip these over so you can read them. And the Parakeet Party combo. Okay, so let's start with the hat. And I'm actually going to start with the light and dark Smoky Slate. I'm going to start with dark. And I'm going to go just along the edge of the area that has the web. And I'm just going to outline that with my dark in that lower section. Hello, Laura. And then I'm going to take my light, fill that in, and blend those edges. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the top area where the web is. And I'm going to take the dark, and again, I'm just outlining with the dark. And then I'll fill this in with the light and blend right over the top of that dark so that I don't have any harsh lines. Okay, and I'm going to leave that little area that's just a little bit lighter so it looks like the light is shining there. Okay, so next we're going to take our light and dark Blackberry Bliss and we're going to do the band of our hat. And again, I'm going to take the dark and I'm going to outline my band. And then I'm just going to bring that in a little bit on the sides. And then I'll fill that in with the light Blackberry Bliss. I'm going to go right over the top of that dark so I don't have any harsh lines. Okay, and I'm going to leave that very center with just a shine, just a little bit lighter. All right, then finally we're going to do the parakeet party. And I will outline this in the dark again. And then I'm going to fill it in with the light parakeet, going over those dark areas so that there's no harsh lines when I blend. And then we'll move to the lower section. And fill that in with the light. And then our witch's hat will be complete here. Okay. And then for the witch's shoes, I'm going to take my parakeet party. I'm going to take the dark, and I'm going to do the bottom line of her socks and the top. And then take a little bit of Blackberry Bliss and put in the center here, and I'm using the dark. And then, oh, I forgot to grab the pumpkin pie. Let me get that real quick. It's in the other bucket. And then I'm going to take the dark and I'm going to do up her buckles. Actually, it won't be a her, but there we go. So there's those. Okay, now we'll take our witch hat builder punch and we'll line that up with our punch. And you can see how that's going to line up. Then I'll punch that out. It also punches the brim, so I could actually just, I could have not colored that and just punched that out of Rich Razzleberry, or Blackberry Bliss had I wished. And then we have to fussy cut out the feet. But to save us some time, I have already done that, and I want you to notice that I left a piece of white at the top, and that's so that we can attach this to our body piece here in a minute, okay? So just when I cut it, I just left a piece at the top. All right, so let's set that aside, and I think now, okay, so then out of a piece of basic white, out of the Gnomes, you need to cut the gnome beard die, and that will give you this. And you also need to cut his nose, and then you'll have this. Okay, so those pieces we need. All right, so we're going to take our light smoky slate Stampin' blend, and I'm going to go right underneath the nose here with the light. And then I'm going to go kind of in these, just a little bit here. Just to give his beard a little definition. And then I'm going to take my color lifter and I'm going to go over those areas and lighten that up. I want definition, but I don't want it to be super dark. And this will help give the appearance of the white beard and not make it look like we forgot to color it. Okay. And that will continue to lighten. Okay. So now we have that ready. Let's take a mini Stampin' Dimensional and we're going to add that to our nose. And then we're going to drop that nose in right where those lines are that say, hey, put my nose right here. Okay. Now we're going to take the witch's hat that we punched out, and that's going to look silly if we put it on like that. So we're going to take and give this a little bit of a trim with our snips, and if it makes you feel more comfortable, draw along here. This is where your line's going to be, so you're just going to take this and go around here and drop it kind of like that. So we've got a line to look at now. I'm also going to cut off the brim, the white off of the brim of this, just so it makes it look a little more cohesive. Okay, so then I'll take this and I'm just going to cut this, and actually I'm going to go clear up to the web here and follow that angle and come down. And when I do that, I'm going to twist this, my scissors, a little bit this way so that I don't have such a blunt edge. Then I'm going to come back on this side and round that corner a little bit. I'm going to put this down and see how that looks. And I think I could go a little bit higher. So again, I'm going to follow that web, that down, round my edge, round my edge. And there I am. I'm happy with that. Okay. So that's how I'm going to trim that so that fits that the gnome beard. Okay. Then I'm going to take my feet and I'm going to add my feet down here to the beard. And I'm just going to put a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals on here because I want the beard to look like it's in front of the feet. So we're going to take those mini dimensionals again, and I'm just going to put these right up here, like so. And I'm going to attach this beard down here, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of glue from the nose, from these sections of the nose up and around the nose. So I'm going to use my fine tip bottle that I got from my friend Cynthia, that I have put the Tombow liquid, the mono liquid adhesive that we have in the online store. And I'm just going to put some liquid adhesive around there. And then I'm going to drop that hat down on there. And I'm going to give that a press. Until that bonds. So now I have my Bewitching gnome. Okay. Now this is ready to add to that piece that we did our blending on. Well, we're going to take our sentiment before we place anything down, and we're going to cut our sentiment. So I've got that at 3/8 of an inch, I'm just going to paper snip that on that end and paper snip it on this end so that I've got this. And then I'm going to come right here in the middle between Happy and Halloween. Try to judge right even on each side, and I'm going to give that a quick pinch so that I now have Happy and Halloween separate. I'm going to put my Halloween over here, and now you see I needed to ensure that this is going to fit. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up on dimensionals. And I'll use 3. So I want that to be nice and solid. Pick those backings off. And I'm going to add, whoops, let's do it right side up. But before we do that, actually, we are going to stamp one more thing. So we know about where that's going to go. And I'm just going to set that gently down without giving it a press. Because I'm going to pick this back up in just a second. Okay, so that's about where I want that. Now I'm going to grab the spider from the Bewitching set. Let me get all of these out of the way. Okay, we're going to grab the spider from the Bewitching set, and we're going to ink that up in Memento. And I found the best way is to give this a little circular motion and then tap, tap it. So I get some good ink. And then I'm going to remove my Halloween, keeping my eye there. And I'm going to stamp this spider right there, just like so. And then I can come back, put my Halloween in here, so it looks like my spider is hanging from my sentiment. Okay. Now I can take and add my gnome here. So I'm going to get some large dimensionals. I'm not going to put any on the feet because I've already got dimensionals separating the feet from the beard. And I don't want to take that away. So I'm going to take and put some Tombow on there. And I have this handy, so I'm just going to use it. And I'm not going to glue down the toes or the heels because I want to keep that dimension. All right, now let's go ahead and add take our release papers off. And we'll take our gnome, and we'll be careful because we have glue on our feet here. We're going to put this down about right there. Okay, then I'm going to take my Happy, and that's going to go right up here again with some mini dimensionals. And then we'll just add this right up here. So we've got Happy Halloween. And now we're ready to add this to the front of our card. And we'll just do that with some Stampin' Seal. Center that up as best we can. And there is the first card. Okay. And then we have a matching envelope. I took one of the other hats from the Bewitching set, and I colored that with the same Pumpkin Pie, Blackberry Bliss, and Parakeet Party. And now we have a coordinating envelope. Okay, I hope you like that first project. And just so you know, I checked just before I went live, and the hat from the Bewitching bundle is currently not orderable. Sorry about that. But it will come back into stock, and you will be able to get it at a later date. Okay. So there's that. Let's move all of that stuff out of the way, and then we can begin the second card project. Okay. Again, we'll be using the Kindest Gnomes. And this time, we'll be using the Warm Welcome Bundle, which is that pre-release. Okay, let's get these out of the way and move to our next project. Okay. I'm not sure I can, oh, no, I need to keep these smoky slate markers. I need the pumpkin pie ones too. So let's switch those buckets. And let's see if there's anything I've missed here. Hello, Robin. I had to refresh to see. I'm glad you guys like those. I had to refresh my comments because they weren't scrolling. Okay. So we've got the Warm Welcome Bundle. As I said, this is only available in the month of March, and then will be available again in July. And this is only available as a bundle. You can't purchase them separately. Okay, and then we've got the Kindest Gnomes. And this time we're going to be using this little gnome from the gnome set. Okay. All right, let me set those aside. And I will tell you what else you'll need. I'm also using the Timber 3D embossing folder. So you're going to need a piece of old olive card base, and that cardstock is cut at 5.5 by 8.5, and again scored at 5 1/4. That's my standard card base size. Okay. So we'll give that a good burnish. You will also need another piece of old olive cardstock. This one is cut at 4 3/16 by 5 5/16. No, 5 7/16. It is exactly 1/16 shorter than 4 1/4 by 5.5. Okay, so if you don't know what that is on the measuring, there's 4 1/4 is here, right here, and I went right here at this mark right there. So that's 4 3/16. And then here's the 5.5, and then I backed it off 1/16 to 5 7/16. Okay. Now, ordinarily, if I'm putting, if I'm going to emboss the front of a card, I just emboss the front of the card. But when I emboss the front of this card, because this embossing folder is so detailed, you can tell that it kind of warps the paper a little bit. I didn't like the look of that on the front of my card. So I redid it and cut it down, cut the piece down by 1/16 of an inch in each direction so that I can just add a card layer, and then my card front will not be bowed. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead on this one, and this is the embossed side. You can see where that's sticking up. I'm going to use the debossed side. So I'm going to use quite a bit of liquid glue. because this paper is bowed with the detail of that 3D die. And I'm going to add this to my card front so that my card front looks nice. Okay. I want this to lay flat. All right, so I'm just going to put that down, and I only have a 1/16 of an inch to work with here, so I'm just going to slide that into place. Give it a good press. Open it up and use my bone folder to smooth that out. So now you saw how that piece was bowed, but now we have a nice non-bowed card front. Okay? I highly recommend that you do that with this particular folder. All right, so we've got that. Now, for the inside of your card, you'll need a piece of cardstock that is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And I've already done my inside. I took the hello and the let's spend time together, and I put those together on one block, and I stamped that down in Cajun Craze. The leaf and the acorn come from the Fond of Autumn stamp set. It's this image and this image, and these also have dies, so we're using this. So I didn't have to hand cut those. I love to be able to look through and say, okay, what coordinates and will make a beautiful card together. So I've already got that inside of that done. And with this one, we're just going to place this inside our card just like it is. Now, if I'm doing something like this, I usually just put one strip of adhesive at the top. That way, my recipient, if they so choose, can pull this piece out rather easily and put their own in there and resend it. Okay, so we've got that. Now, we need a scrap piece of basic white. And we're going to grab the Stamparatus. This time we will need the mat. Now this is the deluxe mat. It's not the mat that comes with the Stamparatus. The mat that comes with the Stamparatus is a black one just like this without this laminated piece on the front. Okay, but I have upgraded to the deluxe mat, and I did that, and I like it because, one, I can wipe anything off of this surface, and two, it gave it just a little tiny bit of an added extra lift so that I think I get a better stamping. All right, so let's grab a piece of scrap basic white. And let me get my 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece. Put that in there. Okay. And then we're going to, let's see if I got that. Yep, I've got that lined up for that. So we're going to take the door image from the stamp set. And we're going to ink that up in Memento. And I don't know if you can see that. I think I'm too far over. Just going to ink that up. And this, I'm using the Stamparatus for this one because that is such a large stamp that I was having a hard time holding on to the block and getting it nice. So it's just easier with the Stamparatus. So I've got that. Okay, so there's my door. I'll wipe this off. So I can put that away. And we'll set that out of sight. Then we need the gnome. So we're going to take our little gnome. I'm going to ink him up. Set him there for a minute so we get a good inking. And then we also need 2 of these leaves. And we need the acorn. Okay. And I think that is all. Well, that's not all of our pieces, but let's grab, that's all of the stamping for the black. Okay, out of the dies for the Warm Welcome bundle, I have taken this die and I cut a piece of basic white with that, and then I took the bow and I've cut that out of a scrap piece of Cajun Craze. And this is going to make us a sign, just like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and stamp our sign. We're going to get from the, excuse me, Fond of Autumn stamp set. Excuse me, I'm going to have to grab a drink of water here real quick. Okay, so I've got the Autumn Wishes, and we need the Cajun Craze stamp set, or stamp pad. Okay, and I'm going to ink up Autumn. I'm only going to ink up Autumn. Now you could mask this off, but there is plenty of room between these 2 words that I can just set this down like this. Ink up my Autumn, turn it over. I can see that I've got it inked and I have nothing on the wishes. And I'm going to go over on the top to the left, right along that stitching line. I'm going to set that down. Let that ink soak in. And then I'm going to clean that. My chamois. Dry that off a bit because I don't want that to get on anything. And then I'm going to get the wishes inked up in the Cajun Craze. And this time I'm going to go all the way to the right on the bottom. And again, because this is photopolymer, I can see where I'm inking. Okay, and now we've got our sign to go above our door. All right. So we've got that. And those will be ready to add to our card, but first we need to do a little bit of coloring. Now I've got most of the, well, in fact I have all of the coloring done except for, I wanted to show you, on the door here, I'm taking the light and dark smoky slate. I wanted to save some time. I didn't think you wanted to watch me color the whole thing. So I'm going to take the light smoky slate. I'm going to get back my scratch paper if I can see what I did with it. So you want to protect your surface. And then I'm just going to take the light smoky slate And on the inside of this door panel here, I'm going to color the outline, and then I'm going to use the brush end just to go back and fill that all in. Okay. Then I'm going to take my dark smoky slate, and I'm going to go in the upper corner in the left and the lower corner in the right. And put in a little bit of the dark. And then I'm going to go back with a light smoky slate. And I'm going to go right over the dark. And blend that all in. Okay. And then my other cap fell on the floor. So I've got that. So there's my door. Okay. And this is just light smoky slate around the edge. I did the same thing up here with the light and the dark, and then just colored a dark line along the edge of my door. Okay, so now our door is ready to go. For the gnome, I used light and dark pumpkin pie, and I colored first the whole hat in pumpkin pie. I'm not going to do that because my pumpkin pie light is going it out. So just go around the edges here. And I took these little white, black lines here, and I extended them up and extended the one on the right down. Go along the edge, exaggerate this curve here. Okay. Then go back with your dark pumpkin pie. Not that end, because that doesn't work. And I'm going to go along the edges again with the dark, making sure that I go up over where I did the light. Bring that in for some definition. Sure to go over the brim there. Okay. Got that a little bit down here, definitely there. And then I would fill that in with the light and work that until, let's see if my blend is really running out, and you can tell because you can start to see the alcohol in it. Got this on my list to order a new set tonight. Okay, so that's how I did my hat. Then I used light and dark soft suede for the pants. I'll show you the finished color here. So I did light and dark soft suede for the pants. I did dark smoky slate and black for the shoes. So what I did with that is I went around here with the dark around the edge of the dark smoky slate. Then I went back with the light basic black, followed that line, but not all the way. And then I filled it in with the dark, going around the edge again, and then just barely filling in the center of the shoe. Gives it a little shine. Okay. And for his shirt, I did the Cajun Craze. And I did that in the same way. And then for the light in the center, I used light so saffron, or dark so saffron for the light, and added a little bit of Wink of Stella. His hands are done with I did them first with ivory, his hands and his nose, and then I did a little bit of highlight with the light natural tones SU 1000. And I think, and then I put just a little bit of gray in his beard and used the color lifter like I showed you on the other one. Okay, so the acorn, here's how I did the leaves, and the acorn looks like this, okay? And to do that, I used dark and light crumb cake on the bottom of the acorn. So I just took and went along the bottom of this, colored that in like so. Took the dark crumb cake, went along the edge here. That went back with the light, went over those areas to take out that harsh line, and there's our acorn. For the top of the acorn, I colored with light soft suede, and I did the whole thing. I went back with the dark soft suede, and I just colored a few of those areas, and then went back over it with the light. Okay, and for the leaves then, we need the light old olive, dark daffodil delight, and the light Cajun craze. Move all those out of the way. Okay, and I started with the light daffodil, and I just put in some yellow areas here, and then I went back with my light Cajun craze, filled in some areas there, and then whatever was left, I went back with the dark old olive, threw a little bit of that in, and then went back and did a little blending between the yellow and the Cajun craze and blended that together. Okay, and I did that with both leaves, and then I used the dies and cut all of that out. Okay, so I used the gnome dies, the Fond of Autumn dies, and the Warm Welcome dies for the door. Okay, then there's a die in the Warm Welcome. You've got this one to cut out the door. This one fits that door. Okay, and this one will fit in here and cut out the door opening, and you can run those both through at the same time in one pass. Okay, so then we've got that. Then I went back with that inside piece, this one, and I took a piece of the the Sun Prince paper. I used this one, and I cut out this piece right here to fit in my door. I thought it looked a little bit like when the door was open, you had some wallpaper there showing. Okay, so I think that's all of our pieces, and we can start putting this together. Okay, let's stick that out of the way, bring in the card base. We're going to add our door down here, I'm just going to take a little bit of liquid glue, not this one because it's about empty. And we don't need to fight that. Just going to put a little bit of glue along the edge here. Remember, a little goes a long way. I'm actually going to go back and get some of this on the tip of my glue bottle and just run that along the bottom without even squeezing. It's a way to move your glue around without getting too much, is to use the tip of your bottle and move it around. Okay, so we're going to put this down here like so. Give that a press. Then we can add our door, our inside wallpaper piece. And we're just going to put that in there like so. Okay, now we can take our autumn wishes and our door hanger, and I'm just going to put the tiniest dab of glue right here. Put this up in the center of our card, almost right at the top there. Stick that down. Hold it for a second while that glue grabs. And then I'm going to take my autumn wishes, and I'm going to use glue dots for this, which will, as you know, give it just a bit of a lift without giving it as much as you would with a Stampin' Dimensional. Okay, so just put one in each corner. And then I'm going to pick up one for the center. Okay. And then we'll add this right here, like so. Okay, get those glue dots out of the way. And then we're going to take our gnome. We're going to pop him up with some dimensionals. Okay, we are almost done here. And we're just going to stand him right here, so he looks like he's standing there waiting to welcome you in. And then we're going to take our little leaves. I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue. Come on. And I'm going to put this one like this. I'm going to put it right inside the door in the center there. And do the same with this one. And I'm only putting glue at the top because I like the dimension that you get when you leave the bottoms. But you've got to hold it in place so that that glue grabs. It holds really well, but it doesn't grab instantly. And then for this one, I'm actually going to use another glue dot. We're going to put that right at the top of the acorn. Add that acorn right in the middle there. And finally, well, not finally, we've got 2 more things to do. We're going to take one of the rustic metallic adhesive back dots, and I'll take your pick tool, and I'm going to take one of these small ones. I'm going to put that right there on the door handle. And last, what did I do? Here's my ribbon. Okay, so this ribbon that I'm using is the Mossy Meadow braided linen trim. It is retired. However, it is currently on the clearance rack for $2.80. Okay, so you can use this in 2 ways. I'm going to pull them out so that I have Mossy Meadow colored linen thread. And I didn't have to use my Stampin' blends to color it. Plus this, because you're pulling it apart and it's the braided, it has a little bit of texture. So I'm going to bring in my bow jig. I'm going to wrap that around twice. I'm going to tie that up. Bring all 3 of those thread loops through. I'm going to trim that off because I know it's long. And then I'm going to add this with a glue dot. So I'm going to roll my glue dot up with my take your pick tool. Just going to roll that into a log. Add that to the back of my bow, right there. And then I'm going to place this right here so it looks like that's hanging down in the doorway. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and trim these because I still think they're a little bit long. And there we go. Okay. So there is our second card. And for the envelope, I took the acorn and the leaf, and I stamped those in Memento and colored those in with my blends. Okay. So I hope you liked those projects tonight. Let me bring back in the first one so you can see them both. All right. I hope you liked those. Okay. Now, if you would like any of the weekly specials, and you would like me to order those along with my order tonight, please be sure to get a hold of me and let me know that you would like what you would like me to order, and I'll get those ordered for you. All right. Until next week, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Be happy, stay healthy, and happy stamping. Good night. Thanks for joining me. And thank you for all the wonderful comments. All right.